What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today was a very interesting day for Lucid. They came out with a Q2 production and delivery numbers a little bit lower than expected. So I want to share that with you and what it's truly saying. In addition to that, I want to go over some of the data points and where things might be going from here. Before I get into any of that though, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So it did go down 11.82% today, which in reality could be a little bit more of a overreaction in some cases, because I'm going to share some data with you in a second, but 121 million shares being traded, 67 is the average. So a lot of eyes were on it. And this is why I do feel that it was and could be seen as a little bit more of an overreaction, because big money was very much buying this dip. So these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market over $100,000. Some pretty big ones. So 6.07 million. There was also 13 million right here, 1.77. So give yourself a shout out if you are one of those individuals that did buy in today. I did buy 2,000 additional shares at $7.19 because I feel what's been coming out over the last little bit has really laid the good foundation for Lucid to really succeed. And like I've said in the past, one thing that I absolutely love is their expansion, and that is on target, and based on the data points that's been coming out, everything justifies that Lucid's hitting the right areas. But once again, clearly a little bit lower than expected numbers that did come out. So these are the numbers. So 2,173 for production within Q2 and 1,404 for deliveries. They do add the little note saying that they did begin shipments to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I find it interesting that they only use that terminology and not on a international scale, more specifically to Europe. But still, I do feel that this is fairly good for production, because I initially did say that around 2,500 would be acceptable. So 2,100 could be, I guess, not too bad. But it is the deliveries. So even when it came down to it, I've been saying that oddly enough, I did anticipate their actual deliveries to be higher than their production, because there's been all those vehicles sitting around for almost 6 months now, awaiting kind of delivery on an international scale. And based on what they did say initially in the Q4 earnings, then once again on the Q1 earnings, they did say that in Q2 was going to be the bulk of their actual international deliveries. So it was fair for a lot of investors to assume that all that standing inventory was going to be gone. But 1,404 is clearly not acceptable for a lot of people to really kind of comprehend. So again, I could be wrong. And at this stage, I think a lot of us just have to wait up until the upcoming earnings call just to hear their rationale on maybe if there was something. Maybe CPI clearly indicates right here that transportation costs have gone up almost about 10% over the last year. So maybe they're just trying to save some costs in that regard. Or maybe a lot of them actually were shipped on an international scale, just wasn't physically delivered. So there's a lot of different moving parts when it comes down to that, but clearly based on what people are interpreting this as, so the 1,400 is a little bit more of a fail, and hopefully once again not really linked to a demand problem. But we'll just have to wait and find out on August the 7th at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern during the conference call to kind of listen in and find out exactly what truly was the issue and was that planned. So a lot of different questions when it comes down to that. But like I said, big money is clearly getting in, and as well looking at the options activity, this aspect is a little bit more bearish. So there was $9.52 million in calls being purchased versus 37 million in puts. So based on this, people are anticipating for it to continue to trend down a little bit. And looking at just the calls, it is anticipated to go between around the 8 to 750 range in the next little bit. And as far as looking at puts, it is anticipated to go between around the $6.50 to $7 range, at least in the short term. So once again, you kind of have different viewpoints. Let me know you guys' thoughts on that in the comments below. I do feel that because of the CPI data that did come out, it gave enough justification for the broader market to really rally, because even though transportation costs were a little bit higher, based on this data, it does signal that inflation is in fact going down. So I think there's a lot of good justification for Lucid and other stocks to really go up. Once again, let me know your guys' thoughts. Most likely something to anticipate at least over the next couple of days is a lot more analyst rating. So nobody really gave any update in that regard today, last being 11 days ago from Citibank, who gave a $8 price target, but most likely you're going to see Adam Jonas with Morgan Stanley once again regurgitate the $5 price target, because last time he did that was almost about 3 months ago. So most likely he's going to come back in with that $5 rating. When it comes down to shorts, I'll give you guys a quick overview of what happened with shorts today. So short score is currently 74, utilization is 74.38%. And looking here, they didn't really increase too much, which given it was almost like a 12% red day, I would have anticipated shorts to really double down. So the fact that they only increased 1.11 million shares is kind of optimistic. That might be a little bit more of a stretch, but you guys get what I'm saying. 19.41% of the free float is being shorted, and that works out to be 158.74 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow just dropped significantly over the last month per se, so 1.19% is the average. And so when it comes down to it though, I do feel that between now and the earnings, which now that we do know it is on August the 7th, I feel that that would be a very good time for them to unveil the gravity. And there's been a lot more sightings as of late. And when it comes down to, and I think the positive thing of them unveiling the gravity between that time is that they can actually piggyback off of the huge amount of demand and talk very much frequently on that during the actual earnings. So even though maybe there might be some negatives as far as the delivery numbers, whatever reasoning they have, they can actually kind of offset that and use this as a very positive scapegoat, if that makes sense. But I could be wrong. Let me know you guys' thoughts on that in the comments below. As far as where things are going, so it does look like stochastic right now does have a little bit more of a bear sentiment. Number of retail investors were getting out today, but based on this, some of the fib levels, with it being at $7.16, it did get knocked down quite hard, and it is currently sitting on this R1. So basically it's going to trade most likely between this R1 and the R2, so there might be a little bit more of a value rally. All depends on if this R1 does hold. If not, you can anticipate to trade between the 651 and 717, or like I said, 717 to $7.57. It will all depend on what does happen in the next couple of days, but based on, like I said already, the CPI, I think the broader market is ready to rally, which might actually work in Lucid's favor to push it higher. So I do feel that this is, like I said, a little bit more of an overreaction. You can tell that as well based on big money buying. Let me know your guys' thoughts on all of this. What is your guys' true take on these numbers? So 2100 for production, which isn't too bad. I feel anything above 2000 is kind of acceptable, and clearly that they can actually hit their year-end target, because that's the name of the game, right? Just hit the end target, if not surpass it, but at least hit it. So I think in reality that is going to be done. It's just the delivery numbers. So a lot of people are very much concerned once again about if there's a demand issue, and hopefully Peter just doesn't regurgitate what he has said in the past, because Peter isn't always the best at speaking, and he usually reverts back to talking on technology, which I do feel they do signal right here. It says that they're opening up the polls on July the 24th for questions. And so this is once again another very rare opportunity, one of 4 in fact, where retail can actually pose questions to management. So I do feel that this is something that you can't just ask a random question such as, what are you eating for lunch? You need to think very, very kind of intelligently. What do we truly want to know? In my opinion, I do want to really find out about ESS, because that is definitely going to be something huge. I believe they anticipate it to be, I think it was a $33 billion revenue source by 2030, just for Lucid alone. So I feel that that is something that definitely we need an answer to. And last we found out, I think it was in 2022 in Q2 earnings. So it's been a very long time for us to find out anything. So I feel that is a very good question. On a side note, what questions would you potentially put forward once they do open the polls on the 24th? But with all that, I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Take advantage of promos such as this. It's been extended up until July the 15th. Sign up for a free account. You get 1 free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Throw $100 at the account. You get 5 free stocks plus a $100 cash reward. So it's a win-win in my opinion. Link in the description below and also the comments. With that said, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.